What's good, Internet? We're back! Another episode of Nothing But Netflix on the Underdog Podcast Network. I'm here with my boy, Kenny Cavs, today. You may recognize him from his work slapping to bass with This Good Robot, or just as your resident classic New York sports fan.
Yeah. WFAN, here we go.
First time, long time. Today, we are doing a very important basketball film. I think one of the all-time greats, Above the Rim. Featuring the GOAT, Tupac Shakur.
You know it.
Marlon Wayans.
Leon himself.
I'm going to read a synopsis of the film to start out. This is the IMDb synopsis. Okay. Story of a promising high school basketball star and his relationships with two brothers, one a drug dealer, and the other a former basketball star fallen on hard times and now employed as a security guard. That's the whole synopsis. I feel like they're missing a big chunk. Maybe like that culminates on with a basketball tournament at the end. I don't know. They maybe
like
mention
anything.
But that's
so much more. But all right.
That's our IMDb synopsis. Our Rotten Tomatoes score, we got a 53% tomato meter, 83% audience score.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So this movie's for the people.
I was gonna say because it's one of the great basketball movies in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've always been a real big fan of this film. Tupac, obviously legendary. The really shows his acting prowess. He was always a really good actor. But you know, this one, big fan of his role in this.
Yeah. Let's just talk about it before we get to the opening scene.
Sure.
We hit
so much to unpack right there, right out of the gate.
Yeah, because I mean, the opening. We'll hit the opening scene and then we'll get into Tupac because it kind of we're gonna transition smoothly there. So the opening scene, we see Tommy. He's playing his best friend, Nutso, one-on-one, falls to his death. This really
Nutso falls to his death.
Yeah, Nutso falls to his death because they're playing on a roof. The whole setup on like where the hoop is in relation to everything else, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
But when ball is life. You hoop anywhere.
You got to find anywhere you can play.
That's it.
You know, you're in the middle of New York City, so you figured there'd be more options, but you know, rooftop works.
They're playing at night. Look, this really damages Tommy, and we'll get into that. But directly after this, right away, boom, Tupac, Pain, opening credits. And we get into just how fire the soundtrack is right away, with Pain as a recurring song throughout the film.
Comes up a few times, yeah.
And we'll just talk about Tupac now. As soon as he steps on the screen, he commands all of your attention.
Yeah. Arguably, well, in my opinion, he's the best acting performer in this.
Easily.
You know, he's just like everything about it. You just believe. One, because kind of came from he didn't really he went to an art high school and stuff. That's probably why he is such a good actor and stuff.
Right.
But he knows the streets. He knows this role wasn't a big jump for him.
No.
But he was just incredible. For a guy that was crossing over from music to movies, you know, there's so many guys you'll see him. You could see it in their eyes when they're acting, and with him, it's just unbridled confidence.
Oh yeah, that's it.
You know, with him, I'm giving him the ball at the end of the game to hit the shot. You know, That's not a reference to this movie at all because he's not actually playing ball. Actually, coaches a little bit at the end for some reason, but you know, he unfaltered at all. He's ready to go. You see it in his eyes throughout.
He owns every scene. He just has a monster presence to him. And, you know, I was trying to think, what other musician could command a screen like him, just in the history of music. And...
yeah.
I don't know.
You know, they're old school guys. There were guys you know, Frank Sinatra and those guys that, did the crossover thing all the time. But for, more modern, obviously there's guys like Donald Glover, who's done both seamlessly.
Yeah.
no, there's a handful of guys, but coming from like where he was like music wise, because this came out 94.
94.
Yeah, so like he's right in the middle of everything at that time, like musically, and then obviously with this performance. I'd have to look to see which other movies he did came out before and which came out after this.
Well, he did Juice before. I believe Juice. I think Juice was his first role, but he owned Juice too.
Yeah,
he's unbelievable.
He would have been one of the biggest. He arguably was such an important figure historically between music, film, and then also what he was starting to do as far as like speaking out on politics, things like that.
Yeah.
If he was still alive, which maybe he is, but if he was still alive, he would have been a superstar like at like the Rock level.
I tend to agree with you. Because I was thinking, I think he's such a good actor that it's totally possible that eventually he would have done like the 50 Cent transition where he just started making films like as his priority. Yeah. Kind of the same way The Rock goes back to wrestling, but he's an actor first.
Yep.
Especially because that's where the money was going.
Mm-hmm.
Could he have been like a Denzel level star? Because I kind of feel like he could have been.
Denzel level is tough because Denzel was out at the same time putting out like, being nominated for Academy Awards and stuff.
Sure.
But would he have I definitely think he would have gotten there as far as acting performances, big nominations, things like that. There's like, I really don't think you could have put a cap on what he could have done. Like he was all about everything.
He was good at everything he did.
Yep.
One of the all-time, just we miss this guy in our
100%.
In our lives creatively because.
Yeah, he's just an unbelievable talent, and like anything he put his mind to, he tackled.
Yeah, so ahead of his time. You can only imagine the impact he could have if he was around for the times that we're going through right now, and how articulately he would be able to express, especially as he matured, everything that I'm sure would be on his mind for situations like we have going on today.
Definitely would have been a better presidential candidate than Kanye is.
Oh yeah,
that's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast. I guess I'm happy that Kanye is not going to come up in the remaking of the film later on. Who knows?
He wasn't on my list.
He's not from my list, yeah, as long as he's not on yours. So let's go to the first basketball scene that we get to in the high school gym. Great trash talk immediately. Just great. When I come to your place, will you introduce me to your girl? Just right away. We get like just one.
Trash
I feel like
talking the white dude that's going to North Carolina.
Yeah,
aptly named Montrose. By the way, this first scene, yeah, Montrose. Like so, it opens up with that scene on the roof, and Shep, waking up from a cold sweat.
Yeah.
Then it goes into this high school basketball game with Kyle, who's like the main character. Basically.
Shout out to his Stephon Marbury middle part.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Stephon Marbury, LJ, Larry Johnson. Like he had just that center line. That's a '90s look right there. But
big time.
Yeah. But it goes into that, and like right away they're playing ball, setting picks, like getting right into the game right away. That's one of the things about this movie versus some of the other ones. Like a lot of the basketball, we'll talk about some of the other stuff later, but it's a lot of like real basketball there.
Yeah, there's the basketball scenes are pretty good. I wanna call them great, but Marlon Wayans' dunk attempt,
the two-handed dunk
where it just. You see him not even leave the ground.
Pull up on the rim.
And then it's a cut scene and he's dunking, so you don't even see him jump really. Not the best. But what I like about the basketball scene is I feel like it's very 90s. Like the time
oh yeah.
Like the way they dribble the ball, just it's like fundamental stuff that you would learn at a basketball camp in the 90s. But then you also get a little bit of that like precursor to the N1 where there's so much ridiculous, like, behind the back passes that you catch yourself to off the backboard passes for dunks. Like,
Yep. Oh, yeah, there's the street ball element even in the high school game.
yeah.
You know, like you just stand in front of the guys, crossing them over left and right,
like 100 times.
Like 100 times.
Yeah, you could tell that like all of the players could actually hoop, but some of the scenes they were like, why don't you take it to 11? But still, way better than some of the other ones. But I also think that this movie, as far as the trash talk goes, is probably on the Mount Rushmore of basketball trash talk movies.
Yeah, it's really good.
Because I'm thinking like White Men Can't Jump has to be on there.
Yeah.
On your trash talk Mount Rushmore. I'm gonna throw a wild card out. Basketball.
Okay.
There's an entire part.
The trash talk in that, because just like that's part of the game. It's the psych out.
Right. And then I don't know. I honestly, and not just because we did the episode last week. I honestly think Celtic Pride has some of the best trash talk in any of the movies. I mean, Judd Apatow.
Go back and revisit it.
Judd Apatow, Daniel Stern, Dan Aykroyd. I mean, you could just, and then Damon Wayans as the main character.
Yeah.
All just going back and the one-liner after one-liner. There is a one-liner, and I said this last episode, but it deserves to be mentioned again, where Daniel Stern to Damon Wayans' character goes, "Hey, Scott, I hear Manute Bol is banging your mom." And that is up there for one of the best trash-talking lines of all time in any movie. So I feel like Celtic Pride has to be on the pyramid. But this movie, too, has to be on the Mount Rushmore. If it's not, if you have a differing opinion to our listeners, just hit me up on Twitter and tell me why you think another movie deserves to be there. But I feel like those are four pretty good ones. And Marlon Wayans, who this is his second kind of iconic basketball movie role, because he plays Kenny Tyler in The Sixth Man, where his brother, who's a really good player, going to go on probably to be an NBA star, like suddenly dies and comes back as a ghost to help Marlon Wayans win a, I believe, NCAA championship. I'll revisit that more in depth when we do the episode. But his character is like, he's just so Marlon Wayans in the 90s.
Yeah, he's basically kept that for like all his roles.
Even
like when he was on the Wayans brothers,
right?
Like the Scary Movie franchise, like any movie he played, he's kind of one of those guys. He's just going to be him.
He's just going to be him.
Yeah.
And but he does a great job. I do have a little like quarrel with kind of the ending scene that he's in, but I guess we'll touch on that a little bit more.
the ending scene.
The ending, which we'll get to at the end. But like quintessential Marlon Wayans line when he's watching Kyle take a piss in like the alleyway. Yeah. "Damn, B, I didn't know you were uncircumcised. Dick looks like an anteater."
Yeah. You got a big old dick. And his character also just came out of prison in this movie.
Right.
So he's he starts referencing that going around. But yeah, that's a classic all time. Yeah.
We also get another late comedian in Bernie Mac.
Yeah, Bernie Mac.
Who comes along shortly after when they go to the playground. He wants to play Kyle one-on-one. Kind of embarrasses him. And at the end of it, Shep comes along, and there's obvious history between Shep and Bernie Mac, and he kind of goes, can erase what we were, champions. Kind of giving a glimpse that at one point he was something. Mm-hmm. And one of the things with this movie is Kyle is battling with, he wants to get a scholarship to Georgetown and play college basketball. And then he's grown up in the streets of Harlem with his friends, and he's trying to keep it real.
Yep.
And I feel like Bernie Mac's character is really just there to kind of like give you what your two paths could be. One way you could take basketball seriously and, make enough money so your mom doesn't have to work anymore and can come to your games. Yeah. And then the other path is you can not make the most out of yourself, and you maybe could end up like was it Flip? Flip?
Flip, homeless dude living next to the park, challenging kids.
You know, trying to live out your your past, or relive your past. And Kyle's attitude sucks, and it's the classic like storyline.
I'm gonna be a star.
I'm gonna be a star. I don't need anybody else. Like, I'm the point guard. Just give me the rock. Get out of the way. And like, even just in
that happens in that first game where he like tells the big to clear out, like he wants to play that ISO ball, just tries to take it, over dribbles, gets the double team, tries to shoot over the double team, claiming he got fouled, but if you watch it, neither of the guys actually jump with him and nobody touches him. Like, it's like, all right, you didn't get fouled. You just missed the shot.
Yeah, and it's a classic like basketball movie storyline. Even that's the storyline for Celtic Pride. It's the storyline in Eddie. So now 3 out of the 4 movies we've done so far on this podcast have had the storyline where like the star player just needs to learn how to pass the rock.
How to be a team player.
How to be a team player, and like that's the secret to actually winning games. And I know that just thinking forward, like when we do Uncle Drew, that's like what that movie's about. So even and that movie came out
a reoccurring theme in basketball films.
It's a reoccurring theme. I don't know if that's a lack of creativity on any of these writers' part, or this is just such a realistic scenario on the basketball court that it's just a part of, you can't do anything without it.
Well, like, coming from a New York sports background, think about like Carmelo.
Yeah.
Carmelo was always like, he was villainized by so many people, even though his he was an unbelievable talent, but he was criticized because didn't play defense, always wanted ISO ball, didn't move the ball around, the ball always stopped with him. Like, so it's just, as far as I think a sports fans going to the movies, it's something they relate to because it's something they see, on a, constant basis throughout all of sports.
Yeah.
But, you, especially with basketball, you can relate to it because you see it so much with a lot of star players.
Let's talk about Birdie, Tupac's character, and Shep's relationship as brothers.
So basically, from the beginning of it, Shep basically loses his mind when his good friend, who goes by the name Nutso, falls to his death off the top of a building. Well, and kind of what it is, because I did rewatch it to make sure I didn't miss little things.
Yeah.
He was betting him about touching up higher on the backboard, whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
He throws money down. So I guess that's the reason he felt the guilt, because that scene in the movie, although it makes it's such a big moment for Shep and Shep's character throughout, it's really kind of just a very random scene. If you took that out, you could make anything else happen as to why Shep is holding all this anger and resentment, in his life now. It could have been he just didn't make it, and that's why he's so resentful.
Right.
But instead it's this whole other thing. So that happens. You find out later, when you find out that Birdie, who's Tupac's character, and Shep are brothers, you find out when Shep goes to visit his mom's grave for her birthday. That's why he's back in town.
Yeah.
He went to go visit her. So they clearly had stuff going on when they were growing up. Tupac talks about the relationship with their mom, how she was always expecting Shep to come back and become such a star and be such a big, come back for them and basically save their family.
Yeah.
And Tupac goes the other way and kind of creates his own life by selling drugs and, doing what he has to do to provide for himself, and
his family.
That's kind of and that's kind of their backstory. Well, his own, he even says it at one point, later on, just because you share the same blood, you're not family, doesn't mean doesn't make you family.
Yeah.
And when he goes into that whole thing, it kind of just shows it's he just kind of put his family stuff behind him and started moving on to another thing. When he rekindles with Shep, he kind of sees him. He's like, oh, like we could be partners, blah, blah, blah. But, that's not how it's really going to turn out.
I feel like mental health is such a more prominent discussion in 2020 that it would have been much easier for it would have been much easier for Shep to seek out like a therapist and not have it be like a sign of weakness, because he really needs like some professional help.
He needs counseling. Yeah,
he needs counseling.
Like he never processed his friend's death and possibly his mother's death, whatever else is going on with him, and the fact that he never made it to the levels that he and so many other people thought he would make it to. So yeah, it definitely would have helped for him to talk to someone.
Big time.
So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're going through similar stuff, don't be afraid to reach out to someone.
Reach out to somebody, because that's important. Because you see, it's something he struggles with, and honestly, I don't actually ever feel like it's something that he figures out, even at the end when he comes to play in the tournament. Like there still seems like a lot of stuff he kind of needs to talk through.
Yeah. Well, one of the other like scenes that happen throughout is when he's just playing ball, like, and he's playing invisible.
Yeah, he's literally
he's got no ball, but he's going through all the motions without a ball, talking smack and everything, just at night, just in the park.
Yeah,
he's just out there by himself. Nobody else is around. Just out there, and I think that was kind of his outlet for everything that was going on, was just to get out there, kind of, not, even though he's not actually playing ball, he's getting out there and doing it just to kind of, to kind of cope with the pain and stuff and everything that he's gone through.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
As ridiculous as it looks.
Spoiler alert. It's not working. It's not working. So like we've mentioned a couple of times, movie came out in 94. There are a lot of 90s things going on in this movie. It is super, super 90s. Do you have a particular thing that stuck out the most as like your most 90s thing about the film?
All right. Well, there's a lot, because the fits throughout are
the fashion
are straight up 90s.
And Tupac is a star in all of the fashion choices he's making as well.
Tupac with his bandana game was
killing
next level. Like I remember being a kid and I'd like tie the bandana around back, like with the knot in the front, thinking I was badass. It's like, no, it's not working for you.
Tupac's a badass.
Yeah. Like maybe if I had that, the Detroit Red Wings jersey with the the red bandana and stuff, that's epic. But one of my favorite things is the fitteds backwards with the curved brim. That was very 90s. Some of Tupac's just outfits throughout, he's wearing like this, like he has this like orange leather jacket that he's wearing in one of the first scenes. I think the first scene when he comes into the gym. He's got this just big camo like jumpsuit on at one point. Like there's a lot of real 90s outfits and stuff throughout.
Here's a list of some of the other 90s things. There's a British Knights banner.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's a lot of British Knights throughout.
Yeah. The soundtrack, obviously, it's just like straight up mid-90s West Coast like superstars.
Well, that was one of the other things I wanted to hit on. Like the soundtrack, it's a basketball movie based in New York, and it's so much West Coast hip hop.
It's so West Coast.
Like, you get like Regulate was the, like, I guess the big song from this at the end. Which obviously is one of the best of all time.
Obviously.
You had a lot of Tupac on the soundtrack. You had Snoop on the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of West Coast throughout the soundtrack for a movie that takes place in New York.
Yeah. So here's some other 90s things. Outdoor street ball tournaments in general. Mm-hmm. Because street ball nowadays, like, unless you're playing at Venice Beach, there's not like, or Rucker Park. But even then, it's not like street ball.
You're not seeing it like you did in the 90s. It was prominent. It was a way of life.
Yeah. Marlon Wayans, he's very 90s. Tupac's got a Zach Morris phone in the at the tournament.
Yeah.
And I think that's the winner as far as what's the
that
most 90s.
One of the other the white dude on the shootout team during the tournament at the end, just his blonde Zach Morris like bowl cut.
Yep.
And the shorts he's wearing, where they're like almost khaki in the front, and then like they're like red and blue on the back, like and just looking through the crowd during the street ball tournament at the end is it's unbelievable as far as seeing some of the outfits and stuff that everyone's wearing.
Yeah,
but 90s through and through. Some of that needs to make a comeback.
Oh, for sure.
Not all of it.
Most of the 90s fashion needs to make a comeback, and it kind of is. But we need to take it to 11. We need to take it to 11. The last thing I want to say
of 90s fashion, though.
There it is.
I do have to bring out my Machiavelli branded. I don't even know what this model was called, but
I mean,
I bought these at a Burlington coat factory in Philly. This has to be like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
I think I've only actually worn them one time for one of the shows my band played, and that was I think the only time I actually worn them. Other than that, I just keep them around for the points.
Yeah, I mean, that's major cred. I feel like that's like you have some, all the art in your office. I feel like
I was thinking about putting a shelf up just to put them on right behind my head here.
I kind of think you need to. The one last thing I will say about the 90s, and it's something that kind of makes me sad. Kyle's whole goal is to get to Georgetown in this.
Mm-hmm.
And like a star player wanting to go to Big East schools.
Yeah, well, the other thing is he's wearing Georgetown gear the entire film. He hasn't signed anything.
No.
Like, why are you going to limit yourself like that?
Right.
I get it. That time, Georgetown was one of these schools.
Yeah.
Especially for New York basketball, like Patrick Ewing and stuff, AI, those guys going to Georgetown. But it's just, he's wearing Georgetown gear throughout the whole film. Like,
kind of offended a New York kid isn't dead set on going to like St. John's.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's the St. John's love? Where you don't want to go to Queens? Like, come on.
Like St. John's still mattered at that point. I mean, you're coming
100%.
You're 2 years removed from Malik Sealy. Felipe Lopez. I mean, St. John's mattered in the 90s.
100%.
So,
yeah, and I like that was part of it where I was thinking, like if we go, we'll get into the recasting and stuff. But I was like, now would probably like even though it's New York, it'd probably be Kentucky. Would be the school. Instead of John
Kentucky.
Thompson, it's John Calipari.
Yeah.
Or like you can keep the Georgetown thing just so Ewing gets a spot in the film, but most likely it's going to be like Kentucky or Duke or one of those other schools.
Yeah. I want to go back to Tupac.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned it earlier, he becomes the coach during the tournament. And I think Tupac might be on the list of great basketball movie coaches as well now. He's not necessarily drawing up plays, but
he's not the X's and O's guy.
But the strategy of just beat the shit out of him,
it works.
It takes him to the finals.
Yeah.
I mean,
and not obviously not to spoil it. I hope you've had enough time to see this movie if you haven't already, but takes them right up to the end of the game.
Yeah.
in those finals with some of the most vicious fouls you'll ever see.
Just absolutely like all time
straight up
just elbows, like
straight up John Jones elbows to the face, to
like
the
Ron Artest to James Harden's head, like type stuff. I mean, Tupac is just like the ultimate villain.
Just biting a cigar the whole time. He's
just so charismatic.
Oh, he's great.
He's so charismatic. And even when his brother, who we talked about how they kind of have a weird relationship, but even when his brother comes to the court to kind of save the game when they don't have enough players to play during the shootout tournament, he's still like, hey, go fuck him up. And I love
that was actually one of the other 90s things I needed to touch on. The fact that Shep comes to the game and is just dropping shots over everyone while wearing corduroys. He's wearing like corduroys and like a thermal like Henley long sleeve, and just throws the jersey over it and is just lighting them up. And by the way, the whole basketball scene before that, I think maybe I saw one jump shot. Everything else was a dunk.
Everything. And
that's what it's like. It's not even 9 foot rims. It's like 8.5 foot rims.
And
everyone's dunking.
And we're getting like real and one in this tournament, on these tournament scenes, where like the basketball in the high school games were like very tame, a little bit of over dribbling one stuff. But once we get to the shootout, it is just straight up like turning up to 11. Scenes are becoming outrageous, but. Even still, they still flow. Like, you could tell that it's not like the guys doing it can do it, so it doesn't look crazy. It's all stuff that you wouldn't do in a game.
And it's clear that the rims aren't regulation because everyone and their mother's throwing down dunks on this.
Everybody. I feel like I could have dunked on that. I just want to like one more Tupac thing. I can't talk about Tupac enough. When he speaks to Kyle, because Kyle was on Tupac's team. Birdie gives Kyle, like, meets him at the club, he gives him some money, he gives him gear, gives him some girls, right? So he knows he's already playing.
It shows how the game really runs. Like, you have the mafia dude that pops up, and he like knows everything about Kyle already, and asks him like, what are you, an 11? And he's like 11 and a half. Like, then he shows up, like, he's got shoes for him, he's got everything for him.
Yeah, and it's like this is how people recruit kids, you know?
100%.
You know, this is what it's like. Which is part of the reason that the NCAA is so outrageous in every decision they make, but that also could be another podcast. But
Tupac
he's playing chess.
Oh yeah.
He's playing chess. Because when Kyle kind of has like this epiphany that he doesn't want to play for Birdie's team anymore, Birdie tells him, like, you might be playing for another team, but you're still playing for me. Because if you think you're going to Georgetown after he gets the acceptance letter, he's like, you ain't going to Georgetown. What do you think they're going to say when they find out about all the gifts you've received? Like, just straight up, like, blackmail, classic villain, just an all-timer. But he, at one point, you know, he has the epiphany that, like, hey, I'm not going to throw this game anymore, right? Like, he has to come in. He can't pretend that his ankle's hurt anymore because guys are dropping like flies from all the
everyone's
bows.
Getting hurt.
Because everyone's just getting mauled by Mo. Was that his name, right? Yeah. By Mo. Tupac's kind of like enforcer, who at one point, Marlon Wayans at one point, like after Mo beats up the two dudes when he's like, pull over, and Kyle and Marlon Wayans are like, why? He beats him up, puts the gun in his mouth.
Pistol whips the dude, yep.
Yeah, and Marlon Wayans is like, you need a role model. That or a hug. Like, just completely lightening the mood.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just a fantastic little, like, you think it's getting so serious and scary, and Marlon Wayans just does the Marlon's Wayans thing and just makes you crack up.
Yeah.
Which is one of the beauties of this movie, that as dark and serious as it is, there's a lot of very lighthearted parts that just have you balling.
Which I feel like a lot of the movies that's one of the things from a lot of movies in the 90s. Like, it didn't get dark and stay dark the whole time. Like, there was always that, like, lighthearted to appeal to a bigger audience.
So at the end of the tournament, after they win, Tupac is like,
Shep comes in and just drains, like, 45 points in the second half of the game.
In corduroys.
In corduroys. Just drop and dealing with the elbows, gets bloodied up. And one of his fouls is the best. Like, the way like, because at one point, Mo's fouling people left and right, and the coach, the high school coach that's also coaching Kyle in this tournament, he's like, where's the call? Where's the call? And Tupac goes, it's a man's game. He's like, good, no call. Then Shep goes up after he gets fouled a few times, and just guy like just unloads the ball, and he just delivers a knee straight to the groin. His knee right to the nuts. And Tupac's like, "Where's the call?"
And even the ref
and
is
the coach is like, "Good no call, ref. Good no call. It's a man's game." So good.
Really, really great scene. So after Tommy does his best Michael Jordan impression in corduroys, he a little bit Bill Murray-ish in Space Jam, coming to save the day at the end. He gives himself up because Tupac, as a very sore loser in this scenario, tells his enforcer Mo to go take care of this, and
hands him a duffel bag
with a gun in it in broad daylight at the tournament. Everybody watching it,
fans, everybody there.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who sees it. Doesn't matter who's gonna get hit. Gonna get Kyle. He's gonna hit Kyle for not falling in line, and Shep kind of has his like redeeming moment, I guess, where he takes the bullet for him, jumps in front of it, saves him, and then there's just an undercover cop who guns him down.
Yep.
Instead of using any other kind of strategy to get this situation taken care of, he just shoots him.
The dude did have a gun and just fired and shot somebody. So
true.
What I was kind of surprised about was that Mo only unloaded one round.
Yeah.
He just shot one round, shot Shep, because Shep jumped in front of Kyle.
Yeah.
And did this is Russian roulette. It's not like you're packing one bullet in there.
You could have emptied the clip.
Like you could empty the clip and taken him out, taking the whole team out if you really wanted to. You're going to jail anyway.
Right. You just did this.
Broad daylight in the middle of a park in front of so many people. This is not going to end well for you. But it takes the one shot. Shep jumps in front of it, takes the shot, and then the cop comes out, and pulls his gun out and shoots and kills Mo, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess they don't say if he actually dies, but didn't look good.
It didn't look good. He got hit a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied with Shep's like redemption, like, and just coming to terms with everything. And granted, it's a 90s, early 90s basketball film. We're not nearly as involved, I think, in screenwriting at that time when it comes to a movie like this. It just, I felt unsatisfied. Like, oh, how does this? I mean, it was a great move, very heroic. And he kind of maybe is like saving Kyle in the way that maybe he can't save his own brother, the way he couldn't save Nutso.
I feel like it's kind of him doing for Kyle, because part of it, which we didn't even get into, is Shep started like seeing Kyle's mom.
Yeah.
And like dating Kyle's mom throughout this. So, but he like kind of sacrifices himself to save his future because he feels he can do it.
Yeah.
Where, Shep wasn't able to overcome whatever circumstances to get to where he needed to be.
Yeah. Kyle's mother, very, very smart, deep woman who had dropped a lot of knowledge. And really.
What moms do.
Yeah.
That's what moms do.
I mean, she seemed like she was like the one to Shep when they were getting in that relationship, who was kind of like, dude, like, you're messed up and you got to figure this shit out.
Yep.
And I guess he did. And then at the end, because it feels like, we never got past Tupac threatening to ruin Kyle's college scholarship by ratting him out for the gifts he received. So I guess Marlon Wayans as his boy and somebody who doesn't really like Birdie after Birdie dissed him so hard and kicked him off the team. You get this character who is like the comic relief who just all of a sudden shows up, and again in broad daylight. I mean,
well, this was in the club.
It's in the club, but there's people.
But there's people everywhere, and
there's
also let's be honest with this whole thing. You're in a club, you pull out a gun, shoot this dude who's like basically the king of everything there.
Yeah.
None of the dudes around him have a gun and are going to take you out at the same time.
Yeah.
That may have happened after. May have been a cutscene. They didn't get to it. They wanted to leave it on a happy note, not where everyone was dead.
Right.
But yeah, fires, shoots Birdie in the chest, takes
Now,
him out to save his boy's
look,
collegiate scholarship, I guess.
look, he was just released from prison at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
But I never got the impression that it was like some incredibly violent crime that he was in for.
Because like the thing is, he's like Kyle's age, so he's like high school, so he has to be like 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Like he has to be around there. Like couldn't have been anything too bad.
And he's already out, so it's not like
he's been out that quick.
Right. So for him
to drug charge.
For him to do that, and you see how much people are Shep as like his new like older brother / father figure mentor sacrifices his literal life by taking a bullet. I mean, he survives, spoiler, but, could have died. He got shot.
Yeah.
And then his boy, Boog, murders the drug kingpin for him. So Kyle is very fortunate in this movie.
He's also definitely got people coming after him after this whole thing. He's one of the linchpins why everything went to, ended the way that it did for Birdie there.
Yeah.
So I feel like some of Birdie's boys are still going to be coming after him, even though he's hitting the game-winning shot against Seton Hall.
Which, by the way, great set.
The conference championship.
Great set by John Thompson.
Yeah.
Gets him going off movement, passes away, runs off the little floppy action. Great set. Kudos.
I'd like a replay, though, because I think his foot might have been on the line.
Yeah, there's...
and on all the replays that they show, his foot's cut off or it's obstructed by somebody else. I think his foot might have been on the line.
That's a...
Might be a tie game. Might be going OT.
That's a controversial take.
Of all the takes in this movie, that's going to be a little
Kyle's 2-point shot, not 3-point shot, at the end of the film to make the NCAA tournament. I do like that they didn't just straight up give him the national championship. Yeah. It's just the conference championship.
Still have to compete, ACC, come on.
Yeah, there's the road doesn't end here.
Yeah, it's not a cakewalk, to that national championship.
Nothing in life is given. You got to earn it. I do like that. Do we think that Kyle made it to the NBA?
The way it all seemed, I believe so.
It seems like
I think it was trending in that direction.
Yeah,
kind of Kemba Walker type vibes.
Yeah,
a little bit, hitting big shots, in college and
got the shifty handle.
Yeah, like that. That's kind of
not going to be the best player in the league.
No,
but
because he wouldn't have been going to Georgetown then.
No. Maybe if
he wasn't the top recruit.
No, maybe a few All-Star games, I guess.
Yeah, from what I was looking up on this, like some people were saying that it was loosely based on Stephon Marbury, like the Kyle character, because like it was like same time period around there.
Steph was drafted
haircut
in 96.
Yeah, I get. Well, was it 96?
I'm pretty sure Steph was drafted in 96, but
all right. So then, that would check out then, because that means that they were scouting Steph in middle school.
Yeah, or he could have been a high school player, because you figure he plays 1 year. So in the 95 season, he's in college at Georgia Tech. So he's in high school, 90.
And that's another plot flaw there. Kyle's not the starting point guard at Georgetown. Iverson's the starting point guard.
Maybe they just put them together and make a really dynamic backcourt. Maybe they go small ball.
There we go.
Maybe that's what it is. All right.
John Thompson, he was ahead of the game. He was scouting all this out. He was looking for that national championship.
Notorious big man.
Loves small ball.
Loves small ball. Let's do a 2020 remake of the film before we head out of here. This was another tough one, because it's hard to do the ages of like some high school kids, so you kind of got to stretch it a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Because like even some of these guys, like Dwayne Martin, who played Kyle, I think when I looked it up, he was around like 30 when the film was made. Which that's generally how it goes. Like also, high school, you have to be 30 to play a high school kid. So I'm primed to play a high school kid right now.
Well, you know that with the baby face, you've been able to play a high school kid basically since 2000.
Yeah. Since 2000, I was just going into high school. And I couldn't probably pass for a high school kid until at least like 2008, 2009, when I was like 4 or 5 years out of high school. So
that's a good point. Once you got the facial hair going.
Yeah, a little had to spruce it up a little bit.
You got rid of the Seth Cohen afro like situation and did the facial hair. That's when you were able to get out of the high school phase.
Yeah.
Shep played in 1979, and this movie takes place in, we're assuming, like 94.
94. So he's like 15 years out.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was thinking about this whole thing. I was like, he's basically our age, going back and like, you know, being a security guard, coaching this kid up, dating his mom.
Yeah. He's
I know some
long journey. He's had a long journey.
Also, the other thing we didn't speak about with this whole thing, because Shep was played by Leon Robinson, he was just billed as like Leon.
Yeah.
I believe he was just coming off of doing Cool Runnings. So this guy, like,
classic.
This guy's got range.
Jamaican bobsled team.
Jamaican bobsled team to torture
John Candy.
Yeah, man.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Legend.
But yeah, so this guy already tasted, you know, a little bit of the good life, you know, in that Olympic run with the Jamaican bobsled team.
Another sport movie all-star.
Yeah, man.
Had a good run.
He's doing it.
All right, so I mean, it's so hard.
So where do you want to start?
Let's get it out of the way.
Starting with Shep?
No, let's get it out of the way for Tupac's character, because
okay, who'd you go with for this?
I was trying to stick to kind of the to the rapper scene, you know.
Yep.
And I was looking at like kind of rappers who are relevant now, who are kind of trying to cross over, but I didn't want to go too big. You know, I'm not getting Jay-Z on this project, who also is probably too old for the character.
Way too old.
But I went with A$AP Rocky.
Okay.
He's acted before. He was in Dope. He model. You know, he's kind of got crossover appeal all over. He's got like a very good look. You know, he's a very good look for a film like this. Very charismatic, handsome dude. It's Tupac.
Yeah.
It's hard.
This was the hardest one for me, because he's just, you know, it's Tupac. So it's so hard to compare anyone to him. I went with Donald Glover just for the same type of thing. I need someone who, like, not like I didn't need someone who came from a music background, but not that he does, because he does everything, but I wanted someone that could do both. And Donald Glover is also just an unbelievable actor.
Yeah.
So I went Donald Glover. I also had Demetrius Shipp Jr., who played Tupac in All Eyes on Me, but that was just
on the nose.
I just couldn't get it out of my mind. That it's like, no, this is a role for Pac.
Yeah. No, I actually like Donald Glover in this role a lot, because I do think he has the depth to put a different spin on it.
Yeah.
You know, that it doesn't seem like you're just trying to be Tupac, but you can also act the shit out of the part.
Yeah.
Which is important. So that's a good one. For Kyle, I actually didn't cast anybody, because I want somebody who's never been in anything before. I want it to be like a young, scrappy, like...
I went the complete opposite.
Okay. Who you got?
I went Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
Because obviously he's just a phenomenal actor. He's in great shape. Could really pass for, you know, a point guard.
Yeah.
The other person I put for this, you know, just, you know, basketball, you know, in his blood, but at the same time, he's the actor as well. Drake.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You really went the opposite way.
Yeah, complete opposite.
I like Michael B. Jordan in that role.
But Michael B. Jordan was the one
better.
I was going with. Drake was just kind of more of a secondary option there.
Sure, but you got another actor slash rapper.
Yeah.
Also, I think I don't know what age Drake played his character in Degrassi. Like, I don't know what age range was that a high school. It's a high school show, right?
Yeah.
That was long.
Drake's around our age, so I feel like it could fit. And Michael B. Jordan's like a couple years younger. He's around like 30
I feel like Drake's got to slim out. He's getting a little too brolic for me.
Yeah, he's
Also,
a big boy now.
Also, you need somebody who could handle the basketball scenes, and there was just a clip of Drake hitting the game winner in a pickup game, and his dribbling literally looked like a 5-year-old at a summer camp.
Let's be real. Hollywood magic. They're going to cut shots. Somebody else, crossing over.
Maybe
Face is cut out there.
Maybe just CGIing it entirely.
All right. So who'd you have for Shep?
For Shep, I was thinking John Boyega from Star Wars.
Yep. I had Mahershala Ali.
Yep.
Because he like similar type feel to the guy as well.
Yeah. Brooding.
Another guy I went to because I was trying for some of these trying to get the the music crossover. I went Common. Because I think Common could really play that role well.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got the basketball skills.
Well,
but
Common was a ball boy for the Chicago Bulls during the Jordan era.
Was he really?
Yeah, from Chicago. I think he could ball. I think Common could actually hoop.
I just feel like as far as that older father figure type, but kind of soft spoken. I just think Common would really do well there, and also he's a very good actor.
He is, and a lot of experience, been acting for a real long time. Common's another good one. Your cast is
it's going to be expensive.
Well, it's going to be expensive, but so far it's a great cast. Just I'm a little iffy on Drake at this point.
Like I said, if Michael B. Jordan turns down the role, and we just need to bring that money into the box office.
Gotcha.
Just think about it. If you do Above the Rim being remade with Drake,
yeah,
dude, that's the #1 movie at the box office.
It probably is.
Come on, Hollywood, pay me. All right, who'd you go for Boogaloo, Marlon Wayans' character?
For Bugs, I went with Jared Carmichael. He was in Neighbors.
Yep.
Comedian. Very kind of. I feel like he's got that same kind of awkward, kooky humor to him that could kind of. He's not as overpowering as Marlon Wayans is. In that way, it's a little bit more subtle, but it's very kind of dry and I don't know. I thought his performance in Neighbors was pretty solid. Yeah, it was pretty solid.
Underrated Neighbors, by the way.
Yeah,
I like that film. I went with Chris Redd. Who's on Saturday Night Live. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I think that show, what was it called? Disjointed. Because I kind of tried to go multiple people for a bunch of these roles.
Yeah.
So my second guy, and it was just because I wanted to get him in for New York, Jesus Nice. I feel like that dude's got to be in a movie one of these days. He may have already been, and I just missed it. But
yeah,
he. I love Jesus and Mero. So
Jesus and Mero is unbelievable, and Jesus is a pretty incredible.
He's hilarious. I'm looking for guys that when they dunk like Marlon Wayans did, you'd be like, I don't know about that. Chris Redd's 5'5", and
Jesus is tough because you'd have to really age him down. But maybe you just flip the script a little bit, and he's already in college and he's trying to get to the NBA. Maybe you do something.
Or he's a guy that grew up a few years older. Than Kyle and stuff like that. Yeah. But he knew him from playing ball years ago. Yeah, there's ways to work it.
Yeah, you don't want to do the same exact script in the 2020 remake.
I just like to have options, in case the top choice prices us out from making this movie. Got to stick to the budget.
All right, we did it.
If you guys haven't seen this movie before or haven't seen it in a while, go back and rewatch it because it's definitely worth a revisit and bump that soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, again, just straight up awesome mid-90s West Coast bangers on the soundtrack. Movie holds up. Tupac, just charismatic, steals the show. Just miss his talents so much. But again, Kenny, thank you for hopping on. Nothing but another episode of Nothing But Netflix Down. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, And if you guys are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you rate it and you subscribe and give us a review. Until next time, peace, guys.